Hello YouTube, how's it going? This is the crossover and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys another one of my 2022 draft scouting reports, and today we are going to be covering Alabama's J.D. Davidson. So without any further delay, let's get straight into the video. Moving on to some stats regarding J.D. Davidson, he is 19 years old, stands at about 6 foot 3 inches, weighs about 195 pounds, and has a 6 foot 4 inch wingspan. Pretty solid overall physical profile. You wish the wingspan was a little bit bigger than what it is, but still solid physical profile overall for the young guard. And this year for Alabama, he is a freshman, was a 5-star coming into his freshman year of college, and with Alabama, he comes off the bench where he does average 8.1 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 4.2 assists per game for the Crimson Tide, while he has 55.3% effective field goal percentage, and as well as he's shooting 70.2% from the free throw line. I'd also like to point out that he has a 28.1 assist percentage, which basically means that for 28% of all of his team's assists are coming from JD. So solid stats overall for the young guard, as again, he is coming off the bench. For this Alabama team, however, he does play a key pivotal role in one of the best teams in the country. Moving on to the strengths of JD Davidson as a prospect, first up we have his frame at the point guard position. He's not necessarily the tallest point guard ever, just standing at 6'3", which isn't bad, but it's not like great either. And he doesn't have a positive wingspan either, with just about a 6'4", 6'5" wingspan. However, he is right around 200 pounds, which makes him a lot bigger and stronger than your average point guard, which he uses to his advantage through multiple facets on the court. However, he is also a very athletic point guard as well, as he had, in my opinion, the dunk of the year against Auburn a little bit ago when he dunked on arguably the best or one of the best rim protectors in all of college basketball, and Walker Kessler, when he attacked the lane, pretty much pretty much went left right from the free throw line, right-handed dunk all over Walker Kessler's face. It was incredible to watch in real time. And every time I think of JD Davidson, I always remember that dunk, just because that game was so good, and it came at such a pivotal point in the game. But aside from that dunk, that dunk just goes to show you that JD Davidson is legit when it comes to his athleticism, as well as he also makes plays in terms of flushing offensive rebounds, where he'll just get the rebound, with the putback dunk, nothing crazy. He's not necessarily an explosive athlete, or he's not necessarily like quick, but he is able to highlight his leaping ability from time to time. However, another one of my strengths that I highlighted, or one of JD Davidson's strengths that I highlight, is that he's just a calming presence on offense. This Alabama offense is extremely high paced. You have Javon Quinterly, Jilly JQ, shout out to Hudson County, New Jersey. But you have Quinterly, who's one of the who loves to play with pace. He loves to just run and get up shots, play in transition. You have Keon Ellis as well in that backcourt. A lot of athletes on this Alabama team. Excuse me. And when JD Davidson comes in the game, he loves to just calm things down. He's a calming presence for this Alabama team, as he likes to get the offense set. And I think he does a great job. I think it's a great balance between him and the other guards on this team, because, as I just stated, the other guards love to just push the pace and score in transition, or, get quick shots in the half court, while JD Davidson just likes to calm everything down, set the offense. And he's not necessarily going to wow you with, any of his, playmaking. Like, he's not going to be like G Montero, throw like a full court pass or a no look pass in the half court. He's going to make the right play. He's not a flashy player. He's just going to make the right play. He loves to attack and just hit the open man, right? Very more so. He's just a very calming presence, doesn't do anything flashy in terms of his playmaking. And while some people might say, well, when you compare that to a player like Ty Washington or G Montero, those guys are just very flashy and gifted playmakers, quite frankly. And, some might say, that could be a weakness for JD Davidson. But at the same time, I kind of view it as a strength, because those guys have their own question marks. But I like the fact that JD Davidson is just, as young as he is, he's able to just take the offense under control, take it under his reins, and just calm everything down. I really like that about him. And the fact that he doesn't do anything crazy. He's not going to turn the ball over all that much. He's just going to play within his game, which I can appreciate. I can definitely appreciate in such a young player. Excuse me. However, moving on, his ball handling is good. Again, it's nothing amazing, similar to his playmaking, but he's not going to be breaking anybody down off the dribble. I've yet to really see him create his own shot all that well. Well, we'll get to that in a second. But his handle isn't nothing great, but it's a solid handle. It's a very solid handle. It's not necessarily loose. It's tight. He keeps the ball low. He keeps it to himself. It's not going to turn the ball over, losing the ball, or you don't have to worry about him getting stripped or anything. He's just going to take care of the ball. He's just a very calming presence, very solid presence on the offensive side of the floor, which is something that you love to see in him. And he's also a very good spot up shooter, which is something you love to see as well. His release is kind of weird. It's very low. He doesn't necessarily get too much elevation on it, but his form itself looks good. I like his lower body movement. Some of the guys that we've covered kind of have like weird actions going on with their lower body, like Pat Baldwin, where he kind of like kicks his feet out and like his like crotch area kind of like pushes in. It's kind of weird. It threw me off when I watched Pat Baldwin, but JD Davidson doesn't have any of that. I think the release could be a little bit higher. But I think it's fine the way it is, and he's a very good spot up shooter for this Alabama team. He's just a very, very good role player overall for this Alabama team. Again, he's not going to do anything crazy, but he plays within his game. Again, he's not going to do anything flashy. He's not going to do anything crazy. He's just going to go out there and he's just going to make the right play, and he's a winning player, quite frankly. JD Davidson, in my opinion, helps out this Alabama team tremendously. Again, with just the way he's able to change pace, slow things down, space the floor for everybody. He can attack some closeouts and get to the rim. And you love to see that in such a young point guard and a freshman as well. And I also believe that he has potential as an on-ball defender. He's not the best defender right now. We'll get to some of that we'll get to that in a bit, but he has shown flashes of being able to be a disruptor, on ball on the defensive side of the floor. But most of JD Davidson's prowess comes in just his poise and efficient effectiveness on the offensive side of the floor in terms of taking care of the ball, setting up the offense, being a calming presence on that side of the floor, as well as being able to space the floor efficiently for the rest of his Alabama teammates. Now moving on to the concerns I have with JD Davidson. First up, we have his off-ball defense, where basically all the time he falls asleep, right? He just gets caught ball watching pretty much all the time, and it results in him having to scramble to cover the open man, or the man that he left open, one of his teammates to have to cover for him, and then it leads to open shots. So I mean, he has potential as an on-ball defender. We'll get to that in just a second, but he's just always falling asleep off ball. And going through this actual draft process, I went through a draft process last year. However, this is really the first year where I'm going in depth with every single prospect, and making videos for each individual prospect. I've begun to recognize that off-ball defense is just such a rarity within prospects. A lot of these, and I completely understand. A lot of these players are just young. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. They've pretty much dominated basketball their entire lives. So, to have to worry about intricate things like off ball defense and reading pick and roll, so on and so forth. I understand that, it's something new to a lot of these players, and I don't think it's necessarily that they're just bad at it, or that, they're just inexperienced in it. But, regardless, I have to list it as a concern, because you do have some prospects like Jabari Smith or Johnny Davis that are very good off ball defenders. So if I'm going to give those guys the credit for being off ball defenders, I have to give the guys who aren't good help defenders or off ball defenders, I have to give them their criticism as well. I feel that it's only fair. And JD Davison is one of the worst help defenders I've looked at through the draft process so far. He falls asleep just entirely way too much. Just gets caught ball watching pretty much every every other possession at the very least, which is a concern. I expect it to improve moving forward in the NBA, maybe just slightly. I'm not sure how well he's going to be able to play passing lanes and stuff like that, just because of his wingspan not being all that great. But again, I have to discredit him for being as bad of an off ball defender as he is, if I'm going to give the credit to guys like Jabari Smith and Johnny Davis. So I feel that I feel that it can get better with JD Davidson. However, I'm not sure how much better, especially when you take into account that he's going to have to get adjusted to the NBA game next year, which is going to be his rookie year. So again, his off-ball defense is pretty bad, but I think there's slight room for improvement in terms of that. However, on ball, I do have some concerns. I stated before that I think he can be a disruptor, but there's just some things that worry me. Um, he's fine when he's guarding other guards. However, when he's guarding wings or big men, he just has no chance. And again, as I state here, he just has to be so active on ball to make up for that wingspan, because I've seen some sites list him as like a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan. I don't know what there's. I don't see the wingspan with JD Davidson. When you just watch JD Davidson on the court, you just don't see that length in terms of his wingspan. Uh, so he's gonna have to be, again, extremely active on ball. He's gonna have to be a pest. He's gonna have to be one of those pest defenders where they're just overly aggressive all the time to make up for his lack of a wingspan. And I feel that when he's matched up onto wings, and such as he was matched up against Jabari Smith a couple times against Auburn, and there was just nothing he could do. He was trying, but Jabari Smith just rose up over him. And I feel that if JD Davidson just had, again, as some sites say, a 6'7", 6'8" wingspan instead of a 6'4" wingspan, he maybe could have contested some of those shots. But because his wingspan is just so short, it's essentially a negative wingspan. It's not doing him any favors, and he's not necessarily the quickest of guys, especially laterally. Some of these guys are very quick, vertically, but it's very rare, or not very rare, but it's not all that common to see a guy who's able to move efficiently laterally. And JD Davidson does have some inconsistencies in terms of moving laterally defensively when he's guarding a player. So again, JD Davidson just has a lot of concerns for me on the defensive side of the floor. I feel that even though he has like the ideal frame, it's just with the wingspan, with the effort, he's just gonna have to exert so much effort on the defensive side of the floor to make up for his wingspan and his lack of real vertical, not vertical, excuse me, lateral burst. However, moving on to the offensive side of the floor, again, as we kind of stated it a bit before, his form is solid, but he doesn't have the quickest of shots, and then when you combine that with his kind of low release, I just don't expect him to be much of an on ball creator at the NBA level. And as I state here, he hasn't been an on ball creator all that much with Alabama. When you look at his best scoring game came against Gonzaga, where he went 4 of 6 from behind the arc. So, that tells you about all you have to know. And his three of them were just catch and shoot, I believe, in the corners. Two of them were in the corners. One of them was on the wing, I believe, and then one of them was like a pull up at the top of the key. But Gonzaga was in drop coverage, so he just had like all the time in the world to just set and shoot. So it's like, what am I gonna do with that? So again, JD Davidson is in terms of his creating for himself on ball, I just don't expect it to be there at the next level, just given that the shot isn't necessarily all that quick, and the release is a bit low. So I don't expect him to be much of an on-ball creator at the NBA level. And again, my final point, which I kind of covered it before, but it's just that his playmaking is solid, but it's not great. As I stay here, he's not going to thread any needles or make like any incredible reads like a Ty Washington or Gene Montero. And I feel like that's ultimately his competition. And I feel like just going big picture here, I feel that JD Davidson, in terms of comparing himself, when we are comparing him to Ty or Gene, I think it just depends on what kind of team you have and what your needs are, right? If you're a team that needs a point guard, but you need more of a floor general, you need somebody to really run your offense, I feel like you go with Ty or Gene. And if you're a team that has other pieces in play, but you just need, like a solid role player at that point guard position, I feel that JD is the way to go, right? And I feel that, excuse me, both Ty and Gene have potential as, on ball scorers as well. I feel that they have more potential than JD Davidson. I'll have a video on Ty Washington coming out soon, but I feel that JD Davidson is much more of a role player. I feel like he's destined to be a solid role player at the NBA level, right? Be like a 10-year vet. He has potential as a defensive player, especially on ball, just given his frame. But with his lateral speed, I feel like that could be a problem. That combined with just his lack of a wingspan and just how much effort he's going to have to exude on the defensive side of the floor to really be, a positive impact defender. That combined with just the fact that he ball watches a lot off ball, he's going to have to work on his off ball awareness a lot. I feel like that's the number one thing he has to improve, because if he can at least be competent as an off ball defender at the NBA level, that I feel like he'll at least have a groundwork. He'll be, a rotational player from day one. And just the fact that his release is so low, and it's not so low, but it's low, and his shot isn't all that quick. He's not going to be much of a creator on ball. His strengths come in just his ability to calm an offense down, make simple reads, attack closeouts, hit open threes. That's where JD Davidson's strengths are. And all the strengths I describe are just that of a role player, which is perfectly fine. I don't want people to be like, oh, he said, like, no, like being a role player, having a 10-year career in the NBA is an amazing thing, right? Just being an NBA player in general is an incredible accomplishment, right? So saying that a guy is going to be a 10-year vet in the NBA, right? Going to be a solid rotational player. That's not a bad thing. It's just about how much a team wants to bank for a higher upside with this point guard class. And I feel like while JD Davidson is the safest of the 3 point guards, I feel that Gene, and David and JD are the 3 best point guards. I don't think Kennedy Chandler is really in this conversation. Again, I'll have a video on Washington coming out real soon. But I feel that with JD, he's going to be a role player. It's just a matter of teams banking on upside. And I feel that, if you want more upside in a point guard, you're going to go with a player like Gene, right? A guy who can run your offense and has the potential to be, an on-ball scorer in the NBA level, while JD Davidson is much more of a role player, which, as we've seen in Alabama, he's contributing to a very good Alabama team at a very high level. So, yeah, I mean, again, JD Davidson is going to be a great, not a great, a good role player, 10-year vet in the NBA, in my opinion. Um, but, he just has concerns in terms of, off ball awareness, his ability to guard on ball effectively, just with him having to be so active to make up for, that wingspan. Is he's liable to just get dominated by bigger wings. And his form is just slow, and the release is a bit low, and his handle isn't necessarily nothing great. So he's not going to be much of an on-ball scorer. However, his strengths do come in his ability to calm down an offense, run an offense efficiently, and knock down open threes. So again, JD Davis is going to be a good role player in the NBA. Don't expect anything more than that from the point guard. And that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about JD Davidson. What you guys think is the most likely outcome for his NBA career. If you guys think he'll be a bench player, just a rotational piece, a starter, maybe even all-star. Let me know what you guys think about him in the comments. And that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching again. And please take care.